Welcome back to SANGREAL Stories, the podcast hosted by us and written by you. Today, we're going to delve into our debut collection, Icons.
Right, yeah, today, as we let you know on the last episode, we're going to look into the actual product, particularly for our first drop, and what was the creative and the design process behind that, and what was our thought process behind it.
Should we kick off with our black story?
Yes, let's crack on with that one then.
Okay, here we go.
And here's the pants. Here's what we made earlier. So to give you a bit more detail behind the black story, first of all, it's a wash pigment dyed fabric in 500 GSM, so it's a heavyweight fabric, heavyweight sweat fabric. And on this, we actually used a French terry loop back sweat, which is, for those who don't know, is very different to a fleece back sweat. So to me, it's a better quality and a better weight. So that was the first process in selecting that particular fabric. On that, we've, instead of just a blank dye, which is just a bold colour, plain colour, we pigment dyed the fabric. So you get this, for those who can't see, you get a washed effect. So it makes the fabric a bit more luxurious and a bit more vintage feel. So it gives a bit more texture to the fabric. On that, what was our main design ethos behind it, as we said in the previous episode, was to go for bold statements, which we've done with the SANGREAL running down the leg in a 3D silicone print, which is quite an expensive process. Like I say, without touching and feeling the garment, you can't see the quality of the actual print that's on there. Where a lot of companies will use a flat print, we've used a silicone 3D print that's been cut and put onto the garment, heated onto the garment, which gives a really nice effect with the bold print. So we spent a bit of time with that. On the short aspect of that, we went across, which gives a different look and feel. Great for the gym, great for going out, for running, for anything really, and particularly in summer. So in this story, we've got a sweatpant, we've got the short and the t-shirt, and also a hoodie. So there's all options there to mix and match, but to tie the story in together, it's a great look. And particularly, we didn't even mention about some of the accessories that are in there. It's great with the SANGREAL sock. We had the beanie on the first drop, which we did through the US. Again, no expense spared from that. So it's a great look. I mean, on it looks fantastic. There's a lot of different ways of wearing it. I think, if you look at streetwear and design nowadays, people are layering up with different looks, jackets, etc., and underlaying garments. So it lends itself to all that. Outside of that, if we look at detail, like I said in the previous episode, we spent a lot of time on designing our own SANGREAL draw cord, which again, a lot of brands at the moment will just take a bog standard blank piece and keep the draw cord in there. We never did that. Our fabric and our production is specifically for us on this fabric, and we actually had the draw cord put in at the same time. And on that, we have a rubberized silicone end with the brand name on it, highlighted on the waistband as well. It's a great quality garment. You've got the two side pockets, jet pockets at the side, and there's also back pockets, so ideal. And like I say, it's a great weight, and it's a great fabric, and it's a great piece. If I was to take one of my best pieces in the collection, I'd say it's certainly the black story. I love the white t-shirt personally myself. I think, when we get onto that, you'll see what that's all about.
And I think it's worth noting that the influencers have loved the black story as well. That's what they've opted for to style?
Yeah, I think a lot of influencers got that because, you know, one, for us, it's a great statement piece. It's a bit different to what a lot of other brands have done, particularly on that printing process. Keep reiterating without getting the garment and seeing it, you can see the difference in the print, because we could have opted, you know, and we did discuss at the time, do we just go with a cracked print? Do we go with like other brands are doing? Do we do a puff print? Do we do a flat print? But again, you know, it's been done before. I think too many brands are doing it. I can only think of one brand out there who's using 3D silicone at the moment. That's B1 Archive, you know, which is a fantastic brand, and I think, you know, it's good to be there at, you know, at a stage with the brand when you're launching the brand, that you've got a USP, that you've got something that's slightly different. Does that difference come through from the fabric, or does it come through from, you know, the cut of the sweat, and being a sweat brand, jersey-based brand? That's hard. So you need to make sure you have a USP that's different and unique in what you're selling, and that's why we spent a lot more time on detail. And yeah, I think again, it's like any brand. You take influence from what other brands are doing. You know, we got the draw cord, but we got a longer draw cord than normal. A lot of brands are doing that. If you look at Rude, if you look at Essentials, etc., they're all using a longer draw cord, and that fits and lent itself, we thought, more to what we were about as a brand. But you know, going forward, we will always chop and change the draw cord to the details in any of the garments that we do. You know, if we look at what we're working on at the moment for the second drop, you'll see a lot of zip detail coming through, which is, again, I think is on trend, and it's marrying, you know, gussets, and it's marrying trims, and it's using a lot of zip detail on sweat and t-shirt designs to make it a bit different. You know, and that more of that influence you'll see coming through from us. And a lot of that, again, was picked up from, you know, one of the best designers, you know, I personally like out there is Rick Owens. You know, he uses a lot of that detail. And so we are like any other brand. You know, we will be different, and we'll always aim to be different with what we design and what we put together for people out there. But you know, you do take influences out there. Any brand does that. It's very, very, I've always said in this industry, it's very, very rare that, you know, designers out there and people who start brands come up with something that's completely 100% unique in fashion, because fashion has a cycle. And you know, you look at military coming through this season, you look at women's wear for next season with boho chic. Nothing's new, it just goes around. But it's how you think about changing what's on it. You know, can you put your own USP? Can you put your own stamp on a garment? You know, there's a lot of brands out there at the moment, which is right, and we believe in, using, you know, reinventing from vintage clothing. So they're taking that vintage clothing, they're cutting and sewing it and creating their, you know, so there's no wastage in the garment. They're creating their own garment from old garments.
Yeah, and I think that reflects in the collection name Icons. This one, the Black story, is because of an icon that inspired you. The other two stories are more about the emblems on it, but this was an iconic piece for you personally, I feel.
100%. I mean, that goes back to what we discussed before. Is, you know, it's those days of when Catherine Hamnet put out those major that statement story, you know, protest story, if anything, you know, against things that were going on in the world that she believed in. I think it was something very unique, and you know, we're just following on from that, but taking influence from that and putting that into print.
And I think it also follows on to the Taupe story, because hers was choose love, not war. And our Taupe story is seed of life, and that represents peace as well. So it's following through our stories.
Yeah, again, it's making sure, you know, we could be a brand that, you know, we keep going on about it, just puts this, that, and the other and basic stuff onto a garment. But I think you get to see as an audience out there that there's a thought process behind each garment. That's the Black Story. That's what we've done with the Black Story. To me, a great garment, and I think, you know, it really is value for money. It's, you know, there's a lot of brands at our level that we're competing with out there. But, you know, do they have that unique selling point that we're putting on these garments? That's very rare, that people spend time, you know, looking at, well, okay, you know, the amount of time that we spent and sampling, getting, you know, some of these print stories right, because we could have just gone with a normal flat base print and, you know, it'd have been a lot quicker, a lot less expensive and easier to churn to market, and we could have had a lower price point, etc. But it was all about the quality and the detail to us, and I think that's what comes through from all these garments. So that's very much a bit of an insight into our thought process and design detail behind Black Story.
Yep. What's next?
What's next is we need to cut.
All right, let's talk a bit about our embroidered taupe story.
First of all, I think straight away we wanted to make sure we had a piece in the collection that had embroidery in there. Again, if we looked at what was coming through, and very big at the moment, what was coming through on embroidery and trend was very much chain stitch and collegiate embroidery, etc., etc. You know, we didn't go fully down the collegiate road, but we have chain stitched the embroidery. Again, you can see that if you've got the garment from a close-up perspective, you can see a lot of detail in the stitch embroidery. And we utilised a new font that was a bit more gothic on that to relate to more what the brand is about. And I think the important part is the Cedar Life logo that we used on this. Again, this covers all different realms of, you know, religions and architecture, etc., and transcends across a lot of different platforms and, you know, a lot of different relations. I think, first of all, for us, we spent, and personally have spent, you know, a lot of time in the Middle East, nearly 10 years in the Middle East, and a lot of friends and great places to live and great places to be. And a lot of it came, you know, the seven seeds came from, you know, what we see, you know, when we visited mosques and, you know, we saw architecture in the Middle East and prints in the Middle East. You know, a lot of this seven seeds is used in a lot of their architecture and buildings, internal in mosques, etc. So it wasn't, you know, an East Asia, etc. It wasn't just about that. It was making sure we had the seven seeds bits, the interlocking pattern, which is a harmonious pattern. And there was a lot of thought process behind it. You know, it wasn't just a case of, you know, we've lifted that print from somewhere or we've worked on that design. It was making sure, again, that it had some kind of correlation and meaning out there. I mean, it is to make, you know, a harmonious world where all religions and all of us live in, you know, peace and harmony. And I think that's the key factor. But, you know, for us, and particularly we're spending so long, you know, in a Middle Eastern culture, it's having some of that relationship that comes through, you know, through the brand as well. Yeah. And to try and, you know, reach out to our market there where we, you know, where we do well, and we've got a lot of close relationships with people out there, not only in the Middle East but across all different Muslim religions, you know, and where these, you know, where it's situated.
Yeah. And we really appreciated our time out there, so this is our way of giving back.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's great design detail in it. It's not a cheap process. Again, it's a chain stitch embroidery. We talked on the previous episode about, you know, comfort wear. If you reverse this garment, you'll actually see what comfort wear is. You know, if you look at it against, you know, a lesser cost for base fabric for embroidery, some embroidery is just pressed into a garment, which makes it far cheaper. So it's just it's literally a patch that's pressed into the fabric. This is hand embroidered. This is machine embroidered, not hand embroidered. But you see the comfort wear patch, and the comfort wear patch on the back of the embroidery, on the reverse of the T inside, stops that itching application or rubbing. So again, it's to a lot of consumers out there and customers, it's nothing. Does it mean anything to them? But you notice the difference. You wouldn't get this on a lot of embroidered garments. And at the same time as trying to give a bit more detail, we could have skimped and scraped, but we decided to also drop the branding on the back of the T-shirt. So if it's worn out, over a pair of pants or shorts or whatever, the back side of it as well as the front, you get the SANGREAL logo again. So it makes it a bit more of a point of difference, and a great addition.
Yeah, that's one of my favourite parts. That. So
Yeah.
I've never really seen that.
No, I think you don't see so much of that detail unless you've got the garment. It's a great addition, and I think it gives us a point of difference. I mean, this is a 240 GSM fabric, beautiful handle on it, really luxurious jersey. And again, without touching and feeling it, you don't notice the difference in the quality of that jersey against what maybe you would get on the high street or some other brands that are producing on a streetwear level. It's a really good quality fabric, and a lovely piece. In that story, we did the sweatpant again, which has the SANGREAL logo draw cord. And we did the hoodie, which came out, which Caitlin's wearing. So there you go, a bit of modelling. But it's a great piece, and again, it's something that we spent a lot of time back and forth. How would the design look? What do we want to do with the design? Because we decided very much on the colour at an early stage.
Yeah.
Why did we go for taupe? It's not just taupe. You've got the embroidery coming through on khaki, and taupe and khaki to me were two key, when we looked at the summer trends, were two key colours that were coming through from that military perspective that a lot of people were designing. So you had that lovely base taupe fabric, but we finished it in a khaki, military khaki tone on the embroidery to like Caitlin's wearing. You can see khaki pants mixed very well with the print colour, embroidery colour, and basically the taupe. So it was a good piece. And again, it shows you a bit more about, the thought process behind that actual part of the collection.
And just like that, we've had an outfit change from Dad.
Because I had the T-shirt on.
Yeah, we wanted to show you our white story. So this is our flocked print. So I think it's really good and diverse to have printing, embroidery, all different ones going on in each story. The inspiration behind this was actually the trademark. So we have our brand name and then a circle, and usually in the circle you get like a registered or a trademark. So we put the question mark in the circle because we didn't want SANGREAL to be defined by one thing. We wanted you to ask who are SANGREAL and put your own meaning to it, and your own meaning to how you feel when you wear it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's one of my favourite pieces.
Yeah,
I think it's like Caitlin said, it. We always, as any business, you look, any business or branding needs to look to copyright or trademark their business, and we wanted a different take on that, and it was that we put in the question mark, and the question mark very much for me was a message out there when you're wearing a garment for whether you're in a club or in the gym or whatever. It's people like who are SANGREAL, and it gets you over that first hurdle of people asking about who the brand is and what is the brand about, and that's very much a strong meaning and a strong message to what we go out there. That will always become with the, if you look on the front of the T-shirt, where we have the small branding, we will also as we progress look to carry on using what we call our registered trademark, we're giving you that who are question. It's always SANGREAL, who are SANGREAL. And SANGREAL is, yeah, it's a brand, very much a brand, but it's a community. You know, we discussed that in the first part, and it's look what we're looking to create. And, you know, it's something down the line. We put, you know, who are SANGREAL? It's a community. You know, we can play with so many different messages that's come through from that, and we've had a lot of great feedback from, you know, how different people think that is. And it's, again, it's something where you've put a bit of thought behind what we're trying to do on that.
So what was your thoughts going down the road of flocking?
Well, flocking, again, balls back to, you know, when I was a lad, which is a long, long time ago, by the way. You know, we used to wear a lot of flock T-shirts. A lot of T-shirts used to come out of flocking, and it's one process that I've seen very much gone by the wayside, because it's not a cheap process. Flocking is very much like a luxurious felt fabric. You know, it's got that luxurious feel to it. Yes, I think the whys and wherefores to do a full flock it can be sometimes detrimental because it picks up fluff, but this one doesn't. It's a really high quality flock. Again, it's slightly 3D. It's a raised flock, but a really, really nice, you know, nice print that was put on there. And, you know, it harps back to those 80s and 90s where flocking was on a lot of different garments. You look at vintage T-shirts, for those who go vintage shopping, you'll see a lot of flocking out there, and a lot of cracked flocking. There's a lot of cracked print out there, obviously, on older T-shirts, but, you know, once this ages, it looks really good. It's not only about it being fresh and new. We wanted all these garments over time to be able to age well. You know, they crack down, do they become more vintage? They become more vintage looking and aged look. Fantastic for me. You know, the more they do that, the better. Obviously, you don't want it where it looks a totally faulty garment, but the more it ages, you know, and wears, the better it looks. And that's, you know, another big important process of what we put behind it, that it ages and it becomes a staple. Becomes a staple in your wardrobe, and that again harks back to the whole story icons for us. Yeah, you know, these are pieces that will always be, you know, in our DNA, and will always be with the brand. We may update colours, we might slightly tweak them, we may go seasonals with the colours on them, and again, that's community. Oh, I'd love to see that flock print in, you know, an orange with a sky blue print, or vice versa, or see, you know, the black done in, you know, in a brown with a green, or, you know, racing green or whatever. And that's the kind of feedback we're looking at, as well as, you know, people working with us is, oh, that would work really cool as that. Or have you tried this? There's 100 million things that we can look at with the brand. Yeah. But ultimately, the first drop for us, and it's reiterating that, was getting these icons out there in the marketplace. You know, that they will become a staple in your wardrobe. And that, you know, we will look to tweak and change it as we grow along and grow as a brand.
Yeah, and I feel like this is my favourite piece because I feel like it's so diverse. I've wore it at the gym, I've wore it out with like a sparkly skirt and some heels. Like, you can dress this up or dress it down. I absolutely love this piece.
Yeah, and just one important point is all the T-shirts, for those, you know, may be interested in looking in the brand and buying. It is that oversized block, so to make sure that, you know, if you want a regular, you size down on the size scale there, but it works, and particularly with more and more the way trends are now going more and more oversized. It is an oversized block, but it's not massively oversized, so, you know, you can rest assured you're not going to get something that looks like a dress, which is supposed to be a T-shirt.
And they're very comfy. Amazing. So we've delved into our 3 different stories there. What is next for SANGREAL?
Well, SANGREAL, very much we're in the process of finalising our next drop. It's been longer than expected to come to fruition and get to market, but you know, you have these as a new brand, and again, you know, we could have gone a lot faster in our production, and down, like I said before, down to quality. But we're not about that. We'd rather take our time with our drops at the moment, particularly in that year one, to make sure we get the right product. So we've been back and forth with design process. We've been back and forth with fabrics, etc., etc. We're at the stage now where we're going to do an interim drop on some tees, caps, accessories.
Exciting.
We've got a really exciting sweat story coming through, which brings in a lot more detail than what we've had with the icons, and that's where we're about. I mean, you know, our icons is to sit there as part and parcel and core of our business. Outside of that, we will start to go more detailed in our design and start to introduce pants, bit more sweat story, t-shirts that have a lot more detail in them than what we've previously worked with. If we look at, you know, our recency sampling that we got back on what we call a sweat jacket, which is very military inspired. It's got storm flaps on it. It's got a lot of military details on it. It's got a lot of military pockets on it. It's using a lot more zip details, you know, whether we look onto the cuff and welt on the jacket. And, you know, we got zip details on each pocket. We look at the sweat pant. It's a lot more bolder in shape and tapered. You know, it's a lot more ballooned at the top and a lot more tapered at the hem. And again, we've inserted a placket to the side of that with a lot of zip detail, with a far longer cord. I mean, it looks absolutely outstanding.
Yeah.
Can't wait to get that to market.
Absolutely love it.
We've contrast stitched, overlocking stitched on the seams, so there's more detail coming through from that. So it's raising the bar. You know, it's having our icons there, but it's having some more fashion element coming through. We will continue to work on different ideas on, you know, from what we see outside of icons on the t-shirts. Obviously, it's summer. We've got some fresh caps coming through, which we're working on. We're working on a new pant, which is, again, for me, once that's finalised, will be a really exciting piece to collection. And each of these pieces, you know, and I'm not just saying that, you won't see anywhere else from any other brand. Yes, we do take influences from what's going on, but we take influences from what we see on a trend perspective, what we see in our own head from a, you know, design perspective, and what we think you know guys and girls are going to tap into and buy. So it's going back to icons is there to launch the brand and be a staple of the brand, but you will start to see a lot more design influences coming through on, you know, garments that we start to introduce during the rest of this year. So it's quite exciting times.
Yeah, and I mean, we're taking our time with it, but I think that's important. Like, we're trying to establish our brand as well at this point.
100%, you know, to me, and we've said this as a brand day one, you know, we can quite easily go away and drop you, if you're a big follower of the brand and you like the brand, we could drop you 5 or 6 t-shirts next week. Yeah. You know, within 2 weeks. Let's be realistic. It's easy to do. You know, we can take a graphic, we can put it on a t-shirt and sell to, you know, all day.
But yeah, but that's not what we want to be.
No, because we you know, this is about the long-term aim of the brand, and you know, we want our consumers and you know, people who follow us and buy into the brand to stay with us. You know, it's like a lot of brands. That's hard. It's easy to cash in on a brand at a short space of time, but keeping longevity in a brand is even harder. And that's why we want to take our time on what we introduce to market. Yes, we will have little drops in between main drops, you know, coming up, and you know, we will put them to market, but there'll be no skimping and scraping as regards to cost and what we perceive as value for money. You know, reiterating it and saying it again, you know, we could quite easily do some flat prints. We've got designs there, you know, and the designs could easily be done as flat prints. And we can knock them out on a bi-weekly basis, but it's not what the brand's about. Going forward, you know, we will look to collaborate, you know, and that's where we're reaching to the community. It's not about collaborating with established brands. It's about collaborating with people in the community, you know, who want to get their name, you know, and have a bit of involvement, get their name out there with the brand, and have some involvement in, you know, how the brand grows and comes along. Obviously, there's rewards, and you know, within that, and how you can do that. You know, there's different ways of doing it, but it's about having, you know, if there's guys in, you know, when I worked in buying, you know, we used to bring guys in from colleges, etc. You know, there's people out there who don't know about how to get their own designs out there or get their ideas out there. You know, it's something, you know, we've got to protect our brand, but it's something that's relative to our brand, and that's what the community is about. You know, it's about, you know, not only growing ourselves but growing our community. Right, okay, so hopefully you've enjoyed that, and it's given you a bit more insight to our design process and thought process behind the current collection that's out there, and gives you a bit more detail on what the future holds for SANGREAL and what we're looking to do. I mean, we as a brand and hopefully as a community, we're really excited about, you know, what's coming up and what we're working on. It's ever evolving, and, you know, it's always saying that, you know, every day we're looking at, well, should we do this? Should we do that? Are we looking at this? You know, there's different categories, etc., that we ain't raised that we're definitely looking into as a brand, and that's how we will progress and grow the brand. So hopefully you've enjoyed this. We'll give you a bit more detail now on what's coming up.
Well, as we said, we'll be bringing in industry professionals from all areas of the industry. We want to hear from you. We don't just want to tell SANGREAL's story. We want to add in different experiences. We want you to learn something. We want to learn something as well. We want to learn something more and find out everyone's experiences, because you're only hearing one side here. So yeah, fashion photographers, manufacturers, printers, like, we want everyone to get involved. We have chatted to some, but if you want to share your story, we'd love that. So you can get involved by emailing us below.
Yeah, I mean, that's it pretty much for this episode. As Caitlin said, I think the next lot, again, you know, moving forward would be quite exciting. It gives you more. The aim of it very much is to, you know, take you through our journey. We'll continue to take you through our journey, what we're up to, you know, on every time we do a podcast, we'll do, you know, a little bit of an update on where we're at now and what's coming up. But at the same time, it's to introduce you to other industry experts or other new starters out there. You know, the ups and downs they're having, or, you know, as long-term businesses, how did they start up? What is their process, etc. And it's to bring them into the chat. And at the same time, let's finish up on, you know, the importance of that community. You got anything you want to feed back, anything you want to you feel you can add to the discussion, etc. We're on stories. We're always available. Just message us. And if you've got something exciting that you think that could marry into the brand, then please, you know, share that and let us know. So for this one, thank you very much, and God bless, and see you again soon.
Tune into the next one for the first interview. See you next time.